Today I have a special tip just for the moms. If you're not a mom, this one is probably not going to apply too much. You're welcome to join us anyway. I love having you here, but I just wanted to let you know up front, this one is especially for the moms, because being a mom and running your business or working your profession simultaneously can be very challenging. I myself have been doing that for the past 12 years. I worked for 7 years in the medical field. I worked remotely from home. And then the last 5.5 years, I've been in my business with the wellness consulting for women. So if you're joining me live, go ahead and say hi. Let me know that you're here. And I just have really quick tips for today, really about how to deal when you're at home with your kids. And I know this time of year can be tricky, especially for those of us with older kids, because we get used to having them at school all day, and then now they're home with us for the summer. So that's also not an issue for me anymore. My son did go to public school for 4 years, but I've been homeschooling my two kids for the last 3 years now. So they're home with me full time. So I have pretty much tips for wherever you're at. If you've got little, if you've got school-age kids, anywhere in between, I've pretty much dealt with it all. As I'm talking, if you are a mom and you're joining and you have a specific challenge that you've been going through, or you want to let me know how old your kids are, what kind of issues you've been having, hiccups you've been having, anything like that, I'm happy to try and brainstorm that with you and see if we can find a workable solution for you. But I have just a few really quick, easy things that a lot of times people don't necessarily think about until you're kind of in that situation and then you need something fast. So the first thing that I always did right from the start, especially because I had set hours that I had to be on the computer. So I didn't have a schedule per se, but it was so many days of the week I had to be on my computer between the hours of this time and this time. And don't ask me, I can't remember anymore what they were, but and within that large window of time, I needed to be there and get that work done. So I would get up at 4:30 in the morning every morning when my son was a baby. I was brand new working at home, and I was a brand new mom, and I was very nervous about making sure that I got it all done as soon as possible, because it was very hard to get that done while he was awake. So I was doing medical transcription, so I'm at my desk. I have headphones on. I'm listening to the doctor's transcription. So it's very different now that I am kind of my own boss and I can make my own schedule and work whenever I want to and kind of fit my work around what's going on with my kids. But if that's not the case for you, or whatever it may be, you feel like you have a kid sometimes too. Don't we all? I mean, really, that's our first kid. My husband got me ready to have kids. He'd probably kill me if he knew I said that on here, but he knows I say it to him all the time. They train us, right? But yeah, so if you are concerned about running out of time throughout the day, or you have a deadline for something, or a special project that you're working on that you don't want to be interrupted, one very effective way of doing that is getting it done either early in the morning hours before the kids wake up, or later in the evening after they've gone to bed. And it really depends on you when you do your best work. So if you know there's no way in heck you're waking up before 6 a.m. or whatever, then don't obviously try to do that unless you're ready to make a a major change. If you're a night owl, that works perfectly, right? And then you get your stuff done while they're sleeping, and then you go to sleep. And it's very important for me to note here, being a wellness consultant, that sleep is important. So I never ever recommend like cutting sleep for yourself in order to get it all done. That's really going to backfire, and that is going to put you fast track on the path to burnout, and we don't want that. So still make sure that you're getting adequate sleep, which would be what's ideal for you. I'll go deeper into sleep habits and things later on in the series, but I just wanted to make sure that I note that here, because I would never, ever, ever would recommend that you cut your sleeping hours to be able to fit things in. There's no way. Sleep is so, so important. Another thing is if your kids are still napping. So obviously mine aren't. They're 12 and 8 years old now. They don't nap. But when they did, that was an extra opportunity for me to know, especially when they were still like on their nap schedule. So I would know, okay, I have about, this amount of time. And of course, nothing's guaranteed when you have kids. So you do what you can. But if you know that they usually go down for their nap at 2, or that when they finally fall asleep, they're usually going to stay asleep for at least half an hour or at least an hour or whatever that is, then you have that time block. And make sure that, like we talked about the other day, distractions are gone. So you want to know that when you sit down, you are focused. You are focused on having that solid chunk of time. And the only thing that's going to disrupt that is if baby wakes up early, right? Nothing else. No Facebook, no phones, no email, none of that stuff. Another idea is if you have a local friend who is in the same situation as you, who works from home or runs a business from home, swap, maybe a day or two a week, swap for a couple hours so that you each can have work hours on your own. So one day you would take all the kids for 2 or 3 hours, whatever, and then on another day she would take them all, and you'd have that time for your dedicated work time, uninterrupted work time. Another idea is to hire a local teenager or neighbor. We did that when we lived in New York. We had a teenage girl that lived upstairs from us, which was super convenient. They were right directly upstairs from us. So there were a couple times, even I want to say the first year we lived there. So my kids were 9 and 4, 5. Oh my God, I can't do math. 9 and 5. And I wasn't 100% sure on leaving them unsupervised for like an hour at a time when I was doing something where I could not be disrupted. Like I did, it was a interview for a summit, for a women's summit. And I was nervous that my kids would come in or they would start fighting or whatever, what happens when you have kids in the house. And I was nervous about that because I didn't want it to be interrupted. So I actually just went ahead and got my neighbor upstairs and hired her to come down and play games with the kids for an hour so that I could do that, so that I could know that I didn't have to worry about it. And actually, I was a lot more relaxed during the interview too, just because I wasn't worried about, okay, what is going on in the other room right now? And sometimes like I can hear them and I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? And you don't want to do that when it's like a very important interview or, a call with your client or anything like that, right? So it just alleviates, it's worth, whatever. I think we paid her like $10 an hour however much you pay your sitter just to come and be there and not have that extra stress on yourself, right? The next thing you could do is take your work out of the house. So if you have a partner or a husband or someone who can be at home with your kids and you can take off for, say, 2 hours and go to your local coffee shop or bookstore or any place where you can sit down and have Wi-Fi, or not if you don't need it, but you know, and just be able to sit down and actually do the work and not have the distractions of the house, because sometimes that can be a big deal too, just like knowing in the back of your mind, like, oh, the dishes need to be done, or the laundry needs to be done, or that kind of stuff, right? So like, set that aside or start it. That's what I always do. I just start the dishes and the laundry first thing, because then I know it's going, and now I have at least an hour before I need to touch it again, and I can sit down and do my work. So that's another thing. None of these are options. I've been in that place myself. My husband is in the military. There's been times where we've just moved to a new place and I don't know anybody. So I don't, you know, if you don't have a babysitter or someone that you trust with your kids, I get that. If you don't have a friend yet or anyone that you know well enough that you trust to swap to have them watch your kids, I get that too. So tomorrow I will be back with some specific things to do when there's no other option except that you are in your house with your kids trying to get your work done. So that is like the majority of my days. So I have some hacks for that to share with you tomorrow. Meanwhile, I just wanted to let you know, in case you missed the announcement the last couple of days, I do have a masterclass. It's super simple system for saving yourself an hour every day. So freeing up an hour, up to an hour every day, and very specific system that I use to make sure that all the things still get done. So the house stuff still gets done, the kids are still taken care of, and we get time together. We eat well all together. That's super, super important to me. And so that is one thing that I very much stress in all my programs, is how to be able to do that, because it is so important to our wellness and our energy and our ability to do all this stuff, right? So that is like one of the key things. But this workshop, masterclass specifically, is the exact system. I'm going to give you tools and my exact process for how I do this and how it frees up time in my week that I use to take care of myself. So I use that for workout time. I use that for relaxing time. So many women tell me that they don't have time to do that stuff, and I totally get it. And then really what it comes down to is you need to have a system that's easy to use and very flexible. So that's what I'm going to share with you in the masterclass. It's $33. Until then, I'll still be coming on sharing tips with you for work-life balance, and I'll be back again tomorrow with exactly how to deal when you're at home and you're with your kids and you're all alone and you have to get your work done. I have some really good tips for you tomorrow. Okay, I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.